I don't care what anyone says, Coachella's demonic.
So this was made in 1967.
It seems like the Trump administration can't go one day without making a mockery of Christianity.
Fifth Toy Stories movie. Second Devil Wears Prada movie. Reboot of a kid's action toy.
Hey, Segovia, back with another one. Make sure you guys watch from start to finish. That helps the channel out. Let's go and get into it.
Yeah, do you guys know about
well
Mount
said.
Rushmore? Like what was
The pipeline?
No, do you know what Mount Rushmore was before it?
It was
Enlighten us.
Native American. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so originally, like, it was like the Lakota Sioux that was around there, and Mount Rushmore was originally called like the Six Grandfathers Mountain or something. And to their tribe, they believe that that is where they originated. Like, that's where they were conceived, born, everything. And they felt strong natural presence there, where they felt more spiritual, like in tune with their spirit. So they had signed a treaty with the forefathers or whoever, right, back then. And the treaty was basically, please don't touch this land because we feel like it's our sacred birthplace.
And you know how that ended up.
Yeah.
Now, the issue was the treaty got broken because the white people found out that there was a huge gold mine in it. So they decided to break it, mine it, and obviously the war pursued. They killed a bunch of Native Americans there. And to rub salt on the wound, they carved the forefathers' heads onto that mountain.
Okay, this is the
Sounds about right.
wildest, creepiest thing I've ever encountered as a mother. And I'm hoping somebody has answers or where this was from or who makes these. From a quick glance, obviously you can see it's just a girl's cute Easter dress. It came with like matching shorts and she wore it multiple times around Easter time. From a quick glance, like there's like bunnies and there's eggs and jelly beans and baby chicks. And one day when she was napping, I just figured I would just take a peek and see what they actually said. Want to have an Easter egg hunt under the covers? This coupon entitles you to one free peep show.
What?
Let's pretend we're rabbits and do whatever comes naturally. This
Is this
one's
like
kind of
Spencer's?
hard to read, but something along the line of my tulips want to be on your tulips. I'll nibble your ears if you nibble mine.
What the heck?
And then the weirdest one, you've been the best husband and friend a girl could ever ask for. Like, what the fuck? This is sold as a baby girl's Easter dress. Who makes this shit and why are you selling it? The grandparents can't remember where they bought it.
The
And I've never
grandparents
seen
always
anything
is.
like this in my life. But read the fine print.
Yeah, for real. That's crazy.
Tel Aviv or
Yeah, like why?
or New Jersey. That's
That is so insane.
More of those than the American
There's
flag.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Israeli flags and 1 American flag. Welcome to the United States of Israel.
It's like that. It's like that in these heavily democratic states, y'all. Is New Jersey democratic? I'm guessing, right? It's up there with New York. Like, I thought I was going to come to Texas and I was going to see all these Trump flags. I was going to see all these, I'm on the border, so I was going to see all these Mexico flags. You don't see none of that, y'all. None of that. In Arizona, every car, there's so much division going down the street, so much hatred in people's front yards, right there in their yard, right? Out here, you don't see none of that. I rarely see a Mexican flag. All I see is American flags or a Texas flag. That's it. Once in a blue moon, you'll see, a Trump flag. You see the army flags. There's a lot of veterans out here. I live in a military little city, but it's these democratic states, y'all. It's crazy. Like California, I went out there is flags everywhere, division everywhere, right? And you don't think much of it, but when you're driving down the street, and it's the opposite. It's the opposite. Say you're a Republican, a conservative, and you're driving down the street and you see that rainbow flag, you see a whatever type of flag, right? It does something to you, right? It doesn't piss you off deep down, but subconsciously it does something to you. when you see all these, and I've only been in Texas, y'all. I haven't been in other Republican type states, so I don't know how it is. But in this border town I'm at now, American Texas flag. That's it.
Really get some air. The performance doing that. Just make sure you have a hold of those grips on the sides. And we're definitely want to do an anti-G straining maneuver. Are you ready? I think so. Here we go. We're going to go to the left. All right, Jessup. Squeeze those legs. Ready, hit it. So there's 7 Gs right there. How you doing? Jessup, back with me? There you are, Jessup. Yeah. Nice work. How you feeling?
Oh, I just passed out, I think.
Yeah, that's called the G-lock.
Oh, I'm coming too. I don't know what's going on.
That's all right. Just easy. Take it easy. We're riding an F-18.
Whoa, that was bizarre.
If you look at the staff that the Pope carries, the staff has a pine cone in the center of it. That's not an accident.
No, of course not.
No. Pine cone, which is depicted in many ancient pieces of religious art, and it represents the pineal gland because it's similar in appearance to a pine cone. That's the seat of the soul. That's where DMT is made. So here it is. Massive pine cone that is the sculpture at the Vatican. And like you see it there in that ancient Mesopotamian art with that god, the Anunnaki carried that thing. And the fact that they're holding it specifically, they're telling you, like, this is what's up. This is the connection to the gods.
You see on his desk, Amazon.com, but what's even more interesting, you have the number 33, like the 33 degrees of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. 33 is the number of death and rebirth, hence why it's in the triangle. The upright triangle is fire. Fire burns things down into its raw form. Then it can be transformed. So this is what the number 33 truly represents in the occult. It represents transforming yourself by destroying your old self to then to be spiritually reborn. It's all hidden in plain sight.
Is this a coincidence?
I was born on the 13th. I turned 13 on Friday the 13th. My first album went gold in the US in 13 weeks. Every time I've won an award at an award show, I've been seated in row M, which is the 13th letter, or like the 13th seat, or the 13th row, or the 13th section. It's really a good number.
I don't think so, but you tell me.
You know what 5 plus 8 is? 13. It's Taylor Swift's album called 13. Yo! Dang! You guys know the date of the Super Bowl? It's the 11th. Of? February. 11 plus 2. Yo! Who are they playing? The 49ers. It's 4 plus 9. Dude, come on. 13. Just saying. What seed are the 49ers? The 1 seed. What seed are the Chiefs? The 2 seed. No, the 3. 1, 3, 13. This dude is so stupid. Where's Taylor Swift coming from? She's coming from Tokyo to the Super Bowl. What does that mean? A flight from Tokyo to Las Vegas. 13 hours. 13 hours. And I'm not even kidding. What the You know how many games Taylor Swift has been to? 13? 12. This is the 13th? The Super Bowl will be the 13th. Is this all true?
Yeah, no, this is all for real. Wait, hold up, because it gets even weirder. Brock Purdy's jersey number is 13, and that number always pulls people into the pattern conversation. What's funny is, in numerology, 13 isn't automatically seen as bad. Some interpretations say it can represent luck, a shift in energy, or a hidden advantage that shows up after chaos. So if you're someone who believes numbers have meaning, 13 isn't just a random pick, it's a signal. And if you made it this far, I'm sorry, but there's no way you watched all of that in thought. Yeah, totally normal, just a coincidence. Because even if you don't fully buy into numerology, you can feel when something lines up a little too perfectly. So what do you think? Are we catching a real pattern hiding in plain sight? Or is our brain just wired to connect dots that were never meant to connect? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe.
You can't say that when people break down these numbers, like this happened, he scored this points on like the Kobe thing, breaking down numbers, and you call him crazy. Look how deep she was with that 13, how deep she went. So you can't tell me that these numbers that people put together and figure out are bogus.
More mysteries like this.
Yo, everyone be aware what type of movies they're pushing out now. Even the kid one, the new one, Hoppers. Everyone thinks it's like over the hedge type fun movie.
Yeah.
Fam, you know what it's preaching?
What is
it? It's putting human consciousness into robotic animals.
Oh my God, is that what it is?
We created a revolutionary technology that gives us unprecedented access to the animal world. We call it hoppers. Huh? We put this into this. Yes, this into this. Mabel, be careful! Robotic, this here will rock your body.
They talk about skin swapping now, right?
Skin swapping?
With Jim Carrey.
Oh,
who got skin
yeah.
swapped.
Oh.
Demi Lovato looks different. Look,
What the
this
hell?
is
That
one
part of
scene.
the movie?
This is animals wearing their human skin.
What the heck?
Look.
Whoa.
Right.
Yo, Gavin, no way that's an actual scene.
No, that's a scene, fam. And all man's like, oh, it's just a cute little animal movie. No.
That ain't no cute.
No. Look what they're... Fam, this is probably Jeffrey Epstein right here.
When I was playing in the training room, we'd have bowls, a big bowl of Vicodin or Percocets. And then we'd have another bowl of, we called them greenies, but it's basically like speed. And so you go in and you get 3 or 4 of the Vicodins, you get a couple of the greenies, and you go out and you practice, man. And you know, it was normalized.
This is on a Tuesday.
It was every day. And it was just, you know, it's literally a big bowl sitting out there like beer nuts.
Oh my
God. Just like Jesus, you know, on game day, you go in the training room before the game and there's a trainer sitting there with a clipboard with the roster, and he checks off as each guy walks in, drops his pants, and gets Toradol shot in the ass. And, you know, that's just how it was back then. And it wasn't like it was just me. They were marking off every guy on the roster. It was just about everyone. Maybe not the kicker or the punter, but
now it's just and these things don't change, y'all. They might not use Percocets or Vicodin, whatever. But you hear the commentators say like, oh, he must have got a, you know, whatever type of shot in his ankle so he can play, right? They still do these things, right? And that just tells you that the owners, they don't care about the players. They don't care. Here, take these pills. They know you're going to deal with it later. You hear these players now that are retired for, you know, 10 years talking like they're in so much pain. They hurt when they get out of bed. These owners know this. But we don't care about you. We need you on the field to get that 100 yards rushing so that this crowd keeps showing up and we keep getting our money. Here's some Vicodin, right? You're going to get addicted. You're going to be a drug addict later. You're going to probably transition to meth because most people that come out of the NFL are broke. We don't care. Get those 100 yards. Get those 10 touchdowns.
Everybody who dies gets from the hospice nurses.
Yeah.
They kill you with morphine. I mean, no one wants to say that out loud, but I've seen it. They kill you with morphine.
Yeah.
And, okay, first we should just be honest about what's happening.
Yeah.
Always. But second, we should be clear about the cost. So if everybody on the way out is getting visions of some kind, maybe there's a purpose to those visions. Maybe we shouldn't short circuit that.
And
now this is what happens after you die. No matter how rich you get in life, no matter how hard you work, when you die, you lose everything. You cannot take any of this with you. Just remember, everyone, regardless of your status, memories mean more than possessions. Because when you go, you cannot take any of this with you.
Okay, so this one was creepy as hell. So this guy pulls up to a funeral home and sees a meat company truck. Like, what the hell? That's a little bit too much, y'all. I mean, maybe they're catering a funeral or catering a wake or something there. Please, God, let that be the case. I don't know. Put in the comments. What do you think?
I don't care what anyone says. Coachella is demonic. They're doing concerts, they're doing rituals on the crowds, and they do rituals before. All mainstream celebrities and artists are demonic. What is their religion? They take it very seriously. They practice it like a Muslim prays 5 times a day. I have stories about some going to Coachella. I went to Coachella myself during when Beyonce had her homecoming performance, and I have stories, okay, for days. Some of the worst stuff Coachella is demonic, that's all I'm gonna say. After having such demonic experiences at various concerts, I am never going to, and I think it's because I am protected, I'm never going to these rituals again. And I call them rituals because they're rituals. Sorry, this is deep, but I just had to say it. I'm sorry. And that once a person's like starting to get towards a certain level of influence, there is something called gatekeepers, right? They gatekeep whether you're going to make it, or if you don't live the certain lifestyle that they do these type of rituals and whatnot, you are not going to make it far. You're going to end up like Maya or other one-hit wonders. Those people just decided not to sell their soul. There are still artists who don't sell their soul though. They're smaller. They're not going to be like mainstream. So there may be some good artists at Coachella. I'm not coming for them. So
bro, they might have cooked our generation. We might just be buying $17 matchas at Coachella because we forgot how to do math. That's because experts are now warning that the last 20-year move to digital learning in school might have just cooked us. You see, not only did recently a neuroscientist testify before US Congress claiming that Gen Z is the first generation in history to score academically lower than their parents, despite spending more years in school, but Sweden has now piled on. Because turns out, for the last 3 years, they have been quietly investing hundreds of millions of dollars in traditional learning again, moving back to paper and textbooks. Why didn't you guys warn us? As recently as 2024, the United States spent around $30 billion on new laptops and tech in school. And now you're telling us you've been sat on this information since 23? The craziest part is that Sweden, for the last 20 years, they've been a global front runner when it comes to digital learning. In fact, they were a country that even implemented laws aimed at exposing children to as much technology in school as necessary to, quote, prepare them for a life in a digital world. But when they whacked out those results a couple of days later and it was not what they were expecting, they decided we gotta make some changes. So now, not only are they investing up to $120 million in printed textbooks and traditional learning again, but they're even looking to enforce textbook-based learning again by 2028. Now, of course, Sweden's decline in academic scores can't solely be attributed to digital learning. There are multiple factors that will contribute. But, interestingly, it's not just Sweden. In fact, a 2024 report looking at data from over 80 countries found that excessive use of digital devices in classrooms can actually hurt academic performance. And the worst part, this is all before AI. So Gen Alpha, RIP.
Yeah, I used to be an avid fan until I got my ear infection. When I went to the ear doctor, I was having all those issues. She told me not only will it capture moisture, which led to the ear infection, but the revelation that she told me is that you're only supposed to use AirPods 3 hours a month. I'm like, what? I'm exceeding that shit in a day. She's like, no. Like nobody in our industry uses them, and anyone of a certain net worth doesn't for these reasons. And when she broke down radiation, Bluetooth, how it affects your brain waves, and then you start seeing all these other people going back to wired. I remember 3 years ago when I was wearing wired headphones, someone was making fun of me, and they told me later after I had my ear infection, the doctor told them the same thing. And in one of my cases for Apple that I worry about in that 2034 is if they'll have a class action lawsuit about this issue here and the phone use. They had a little issue in EU that they had to clear up a couple of years ago. So I'm not going to cast any aspersions against Apple, but that it's intentional. But there is a negative effect on having things in your ear for long periods of time. My mom was telling me this shit 5 years ago. That's why even now, wired headphones. So be careful. All tech is not beneficial for your productivity or your health. Even in that same session, she's like, you're supposed to turn off your Wi-Fi at night in your house. You're not supposed to have Wi-Fi just freely roaming through the space that you're in. It affects your circadian rhythm.
It ain't. No, I don't know about the AirPod things if they're that bad. It's anything you overdo, too much of anything is not good. Because these kids now, those AirPods, they're in their ear all day, all night, right? Like these headphones, they're wired, but they're only in my ear for a couple hours a day, 4 days a week now, right? But like I'll be FaceTiming my family And my nieces got their AirPods in. I'm like, what are you listening to? They're like, nothing. They just got them in their ears now. You drive down the street and you look in people's cars, they got AirPods in the car with music on. Like they're just wearing these AirPods all day, every day. That's where all the problems come from. Right? If you just wear them when you go to the gym, and that's pretty much it, you're probably going to be okay. It's not going to kill you, right? But these people now, they wear them all day, every day. That's where the problems come.
Food is everything, right? Listen, I'm gonna say this: people is controlled through their pleasures. Listen, sex. Listen, I'm gonna say this, gang. People will do anything for their nut and their whole life for a nut. They don't even know what they're doing. They're doing it for the feeling, and the feeling just cost them everything, right? Because they thought that feeling was what they needed, but that feeling ain't what they needed, right? But people love that feeling, right? But I'm gonna tell you this: you gotta tame that feeling, because anything that feel good will f you in the end.
So how do you contain that feeling though? Because you know that's hard for people to.
No, it really ain't hard. It takes discipline, gang. It takes discipline and self-awareness to understand that I like this, right? But I'm gonna use it for a treat for myself, right?
It seems like the Trump administration can't go one day without making a mockery of Christianity. And if you're wondering what they did next, well, check this out. Here's Pete Hegseth, frat boy and Secretary of War, saying a prayer and quoting from the book of Quentin Tarantino.
So the prayer is Caesar 25:17, and it reads, and pray with me, please. The path of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of camaraderie and duty, shepherd the lost through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy 1 when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Yeah, that's right. Caesar 25:17 isn't a real Bible verse, and neither is Ezekiel 25:17 quoted by Samuel L. Jackson. Those are not real Bible verses. So what the heck is he doing? Was he drunk when he said this?
No, it was his advisors. It's like these advisors that are in this administration, they work for the opposition, right? Because you can't be that stupid. You can't be that dumb. Because you know damn well this guy didn't come up with that. We're going to do this Bible verse. No. Hey, here's your pamphlet. Go out there and read it, right? Because you don't really run the show. You're just the bozo in front of the camera, right? So here's the pamphlet. Read it. Okay? They're going to love it. They're going to love it. And don't say nothing. Don't go out of character. Stay in the story mode. Stay in the pamphlet. Like it's like they're the opposition, y'all. Because they're doing some stupid things. They're doing some stupid things.
Made in 1967, the French-Israeli Six-Day War Commemorative Medal was issued to French Jewish volunteers for the war effort of the Six-Day War. The back depicts a flag of Israel with an olive branch and a sword on either side, with a variation of the French national motto written as Freedom, Peace, Brotherhood around the edge in French, along with the Hebrew word bazak, meaning swift, and more French reading Under the Star of David, Campaign of 6 Days, with the period it took place in underneath it, June 5th to 10th, 1967. Now, the Six-Day War was a famous battle fought between Israel and a coalition of Arab states, primarily Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, during a time of increasing tensions between these nations, as the newly formed Israel, created just 20 years earlier in 1948, launched a massive surprise attack against Egypt on June 5th, 1967, from which Israel swiftly took control over the Sinai Peninsula and the Gaza Strip from Egypt, the West Bank and the Old City of Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria, leading to Israel growing 3 times its size and landmass in a span of those 6 days. The front of this medal features more Hebrew text along the outer edge, translating to "With God's will was saved the peace of the world," along with images of a plane, an armored carrier tank, and the Torah, depicted as an ancient scroll as is typically portrayed in Jewish tradition. The more you know.
The second torture was over they call it tehuacanazo. It's basically mineral water with powder, chili powder. They mix it up and they like basically they shake it up together with the mineral water, and they stick it in your nose, and that prevents you from breathing. You know, you could actually die from that. You know? And you know, like they did that like I want to say like 4 times, and I still wouldn't talk. So the last torture, what they did is they stripped me down butt naked, and they basically tied my hands, like, you know, to some poles, and they basically bought wires that was connected like to a generator, and basically they were shocking my balls, or they call it chicharita, you know. And man, like, to be honest, I thought, like, no, I was never gonna have any kids after that, because yeah, man, I basically went through hell, you know, like, but I kept it strong, you know. I never spoke who I worked for or anything. So usually the person that I was working for inside the prison over there in Mexico, he usually has somebody, you know, that works for him, and basically he has the whole prison sold up. So when I was in prison down there in Mexico, I was so beaten like the person that was supposed to like go find me and basically take care of me. It took him 3 weeks for him to actually recognize who I was, you know, because that's how swollen I was from the face and everything. Like, I was beat up, you know, like I didn't even get proper medical attention from my ankle. And once he, like, you know, he acknowledged me, you know, he told me, hey, you're such and such. I'm like, yeah, I'm El Gordo. He's like, oh yeah, oh well, man, what happened, man? I've been looking for you, man. Like, you could tell, man, I got my ass beat. I told him. He's like, so you didn't say nothing? I'm like, come on, dog. Like, don't you see the ass beating I gave you, man? And then, like, basically, like, my testicles were like the size like of a grapefruit. That's swollen. And he's like, well, the boss is already he's trying to bail you out and everything, but it's gonna be like a 6-month process. But during that time, you know, you're gonna live, you know, cool. Cause like when they took me to the penitentiary over there in Mexico, they put me in a cell that it fits only like for 4 people, but they filled it up like 15 people in one cell. So basically, like, how the way I'll sleep is sometimes you sleep like just like sitting down on the ground. You couldn't lay down or anything because, you know, it was too jam-packed.
So I didn't get paid for the first season, but Rick did give me $30,000 to be on the first season.
Really?
And then before the first season was over, History Channel was thinking about cutting me because I guess at the beginning of the first season, they did a focus group and I didn't test well. But then by the time they redid a focus group for the second season, they realized that if they cut me, then they probably would like not have the same show. They basically, I think the fans accepted me and realized I was a staple part of the guys.
Yeah. But Rick was getting all the dough in the beginning.
No, Rick, Corey, and the old man that all had contracts. Yeah. But season 2, I got my contract season 2, and, you know, it was crazy. Yeah.
What kind of dough are they paying?
Oh, I don't know. A lot. I mean,
you guys ain't allowed to say?
Probably could say. I mean, there was 1 year that was really crazy because they wanted to do 104 episodes in 1 year. Yeah. And, you know, I was making a few $100,000 a month at that time, but
how was it?
I wish I was more of a stable person at the time. You know, all the Rolls Royces and Lamborghinis were great, but
so you just started blowing it.
Yeah, I saved money away, but yeah, I just spent it on dumb stuff. You know, I was just young, poor kid, came from a very poor middle class family, single parent home, and my dad had passed away just a few months before the show started, so I didn't really have anyone to kind of like help guide me.
If you think about how crazy it is that Mexico speaks Spanish, that's so far away from Spain. They all speak Spanish and they're Catholic. Gee, where do you think that happened? Cortez. Yeah, that motherfucker showed up in the 1500s with like 600 dudes and 12 muskets. He was a boss. And they took over the whole fucking country. Like, if you think about all these years later, they all speak Spanish now. Yeah. That's nuts.
Moses that. Abraham hit me with a wiffle ball bat. Yep, the Lord sure did say a lot of hibbity, jibbity, bibbity, swibbity. But has he ever really done anything for any of us?
Have you guys actually looked at this scene from Little Nicky? Because what I find super eerie is how they hide things straight under our noses. Why would the priest be standing on a giant pizza on the floor? All of the things that they could use as a demonic takeover scene, they used that imagery. Feels like a massive error just to call it a joke from the 2000s. What's strange is the imagery correlates perfectly with what's dropped recently. We know what that symbol stands for in certain circles, so seeing a religious figure standing on it just doesn't sit right. And we all know that they like to hide things within humour. It feels like a total mockery.
The Olympics are coming. We are gonna have a terrorist attack. Our streets right now, they're not even protected. If we do fires alone, all a terrorist cell needs to do is get 5 of those black e-bikes, and they need to go on a windy day, go around with road flares, tossing them out on all the 50 years of dead brush. The entire city will look like a nuclear bomb went up.
Do you know why Coachella didn't let streamers stream? You want the honest truth, or do you guys want me to lie to you? Do you want to know why Coachella didn't let... Obviously, it's because you guys can think of the craziest celebrities. I'm talking top of the line celebrities. They're all doing psychedelics and getting fucked up. And they're all getting fucked up drunk and tripping off Molly. So that's why. It's not because of a YouTube deal, no. Or I'm watch partying this right now. Nothing's happening. If it was an issue, they would have took my stream down. It's because, I'm telling you, Coachella is meant for the grade A-list celebrities to get fucked up on without people filming them. That's the truth.
Oh, Europe is dead. Europe is gone. That's part of the plan. Because Europe is the descendants of the Romans. And so the Jews want revenge against the Romans.
You know, you talked about it earlier about them flooding Europe with Muslims from Africa and the Middle East. So I've heard people say, well, this was a Jewish Zionist plan to try to dilute all the cultures so that they would be the one last, true pure state.
It's hard to explain what happened, right? Because at that time, and I think it was 2014, everyone told Europeans, don't do this because you don't have the same capacity to absorb these tens of millions of refugees. And Angela Merkel said, we can do this, man. We can do this. Have faith. And it's like, that's not a plan, right? That's a slogan. We can do this. That's not a plan. And so you have to ask yourself why this happened. Like you got 10 million Indians who've immigrated to Canada in the past, 5 years. And Mark Carney last week went to India and said, we want more. Why is this happening?
They have been desensitizing us since we were born. And I'll give you some examples. Let's start with the big one. Let's start with words we hear all the time and never even think about. Let's start with the word entertainment. To entertain. What does that mean? To bind or hold. To bind or hold what? An audience's attention. Okay, now let's take the word Hollywood. Where does that come from? Well, Hollywood comes from the holly tree. And the ancient druids back in the day used to take the holly tree, make wands to weave spells, cast spells, or channel spells. What do we have in our houses? TVs. But if you stop and you say the word television, television. And when you turn on that television, what do you get? What's the first thing that pops up? A list of channels. And when you turn on those channels, what's on those channels? Programming. They are programming you. They've been programming your whole life. You don't even know it. They do it with your music. They do it with your TV. They do it with your movies. They do it with your games.
What does one of these teen takeovers look like? Let's roll a few clips.
For a new generation, lots of kids showing up in the same place at the same time, but police say it's a mess and sometimes it turns violent.
These events are coordinated almost 100% through social media, and I'll actually walk through the components of how that works today. So a post will go up on TikTok, for example, and then within hours, teens can appear at one location It can be at a beach, on a street, at the mall, or even inside private businesses. And then they overwhelm the security at that location. And lots of times, even the law enforcement, for that city or that area. Now, these are not sanctioned, right? Nobody has a permit to carry out any of these things. There's, of course, no parental guidance. And the worst thing is there are no safety plans, right? That's not even considered when these are being planned.
I think space is fake.
Do you?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're in a firmament. They haven't been to space. All the moon landings were bollocks. Every single NASA image is CGI. You find me a fucking a picture of a satellite in space that isn't CGI.
There is a radiation belt, which I'm still confused.
They call it
as
the Van Allen belt.
That's
but
correct.
that's meant to be out in space, so it still has to be fake. That's just another story. There's a firmament above us. There's videos of it, like the GoPro going up on one of them balloons and hitting it. You can hear water above it.
These Nephilim beings are in cooperation with the cartel, because these cartel, they're demonic organizations, and they seek these beings for power. And whether it's the selling of children, which is the whole Bell thing, that whole Moloch thing, all of that mess, or if it's drugs, which is the whole pharmakeia thing, they actually look to these beings for protection, for next level wisdom, for all those kinds of things. And while the church is just now catching up to this, these cultures have been a part of these things for forever.
5th Toy Stories movie, 2nd Devil Wears Prada movie, reboot of a kid's action toy, Moana live action reboot, that doesn't count, Hunger Games reboot, Superman spinoff, Minions reboot, and shout out to Steven Spielberg for an original movie.
There are these 10 missing scientists with access to classified stuff, nuclear material, aerospace. They've all gone missing or turned up dead in the last couple months. Based on what you've been briefed, what do you think is happening here, and do you think that this is connected or totally random?
Well, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half. I just left the meeting on that subject, so pretty serious stuff, but we're going to be hopefully, I don't know, coincidence, if you whatever you want to call it, but some of them were very important people, and we're going to look at it over the next short term.
Is it possible that some foreign adversary is in the United States scooping these people up?
Well, Biden had open borders. It wasn't very hard to get here, but we've gotten many of them out. We've caught many, many people, many very bad people, including thousands of murderers that we've taken out of our country, thousands of drug lords that we've taken out of our country, hundreds of thousands of prisoners that were let into the U.S. that we've taken out of our country. As far as the scientists are concerned, we'll probably have a pretty good answer over the next week.
And with the peace talks in Iran.
That we'll never
Bill
hear
Gates
about.
loves women. When Bill Gates married Melinda Gates in his prenup, we'll go back to the beginning, then he could go off for 1 week a year with his old girlfriend.
Stop. Why would she agree to that?
Money. Melinda Gates, when you read their story, she was acting like she met him in the parking lot and didn't know who he was. And she worked at Microsoft. I mean, no, I don't believe you, Melinda. I believe that you parked next to him on purpose. And she dated Bo Wrigley, a dude.
So you think she was a gold digger?
I think so.
I don't really.
Man, I had somebody tell me I need to do my research on this woman. She's a great woman, and you're wrong about her. You know what I mean? Shame on you. I'm unsubscribing. If she was such a great woman and knew all his money was tied to that, she took so much money in that divorce, y'all. She took so much money. If she was really a woman of character and a woman of, just a good woman, she would be like, I don't want nothing to do with that money. I know where it came from. I know there's blood on it. I don't want, hell no. She took that money, y'all. She took that money.
Have people to talk about it too. Do you believe in the firmament?
What does that mean?
The firmament. Okay, so the firmament, which is also in the Bible, and it's somewhat of a hypothesis that people have been, they've been studying and challenging it for years. But so the firmament is saying that above the atmosphere in outer space, somewhere up there, there is water. And if you go deep enough into those waters, it will bring you to the top of our space. And it mentions the firmament in the Bible. And, you know, but it hasn't yet been proven. There are people that say that they have, you know, they've dropped through the firmament, but I don't know if it has actually been proven yet. So it isn't taught necessarily as a scientific fact, but it has been mentioned and studied. And I just wondered what your take on it was.
Oh, it's grape juice.
Yeah.
That's
the cutting. He's cutting his blood?
Of the covenant. Did he cut himself?
Yeah, I guess he's pouring it.
And then I would do the same.
This guy's so nervous.
Jesus said, "Take this cup. This is my blood of the new covenant."
Now we've mixed our blood.
Where's the cut? I see no cut.
Which is his and which is mine.
And we could never separate.
You can't separate that. Now, our blood symbolically has been mixed here. Now, at the communion table,
yes, sir,
he said, "This is my blood of the new covenant. All of you drink all of it." Judas had to drink that.
Yes, sir.
So, and I want you to be this way every time you take communion, and you ought to take it a lot. A lot.
Does he actually drink it?
Was that
Yo, he does.
World's first blood transfusion? So this guy's nervous.
That's what I was saying.
This guy's got, he might have a disease and he's like,
oh yeah. I don't know.
That is just,
He's one.
That's dirty.
That is just dirty.
But anyways, it's fine if Jesus actually had them drink his own blood, but
yeah,
what are they showing us right
I
now?
don't know.
And why even add the grape juice if they're just gonna drink blood?
The eternal covenant.
That's just
Computer chips inside the game balls. Don't believe me? Google it. Now, I discussed in my last video that I believe that these computer chips can be turned into an electromagnet, and thus you can have the ball be manipulated with magnets and technology and cause, let's say, a field goal that was gonna be good to bounce off the uprights instead. Now, this isn't the only way that this technology is being used. I also believe that this very same magnetic technology is being implemented into the players' gloves, especially wide receivers, making all those awesome one-handed catches that they routinely seem to make.
Coachella just ended week 1, and 60% of ticket sales from Coachella were using buy now, pay later. I don't give a fuck what the inflation numbers say. No normal person can afford anything. Everybody is taking out loans on their food, their Uber rides, their tickets to go to concerts. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you have to buy now, pay later, take out a loan on your Coachella ticket, you cannot afford it. What happens in a scenario where all food, all consumer goods are being bought on credit that the people don't have? On a long enough time frame, they just don't pay. None of these people are paying, just like the people that are doing buy now, pay later on Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets are also not paying. They're not paying because they cannot afford to pay. They're just not gonna pay. This collapses at some point.
Many people are thinking that this guy was not supposed to say this live on the news. Check this out.
Firmament, it can't be penetrated. So there's different levels of heaven. That's why they call it outer space, not space. Within the firmament is space. There is heaven. We fly in the heavens on a plane. But then there's a higher heaven. That's why God, the Heavenly Father, is called the Most High. Because there's levels to this.
Yeah, it's certainly.
So you didn't know you were getting all this.
You see, this is where many people are missing. The word firmament is not what most people think it means. You see, because in Hebrew, which is the language the Old Testament was originally written in, the word firmament carries the meaning open space, expanse, or sky. If you don't trust NASA, that's one thing. But the Bible undeniably supports a space outside of this Earth's atmosphere where these celestial bodies are. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments about this. Don't forget to follow for more.
It's safe to say that streamer Neon did not like when this Christian came up to him and DDG speaking about how Jesus Christ is the only way to heaven.
If you guys were to die today,
oh shit, don't put that into
would
existence.
you be in heaven or would you be in hell?
I'll be in heaven.
Why? Because I believe in God.
You know,
I pray to God.
You know, demons believe in God, and so does the devil, but they're not going to go to heaven.
You calling us demons?
What's the difference between you and a demon?
If that's the case, none of us know.
Where would you go?
Brother, I try to be the best person I can, man. I don't know, but I would hope heaven, man.
I want to tell you this, man.
Okay.
The Word of God says, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. There's none righteous, no, not one that's good. None seek after him. But God, this is the love of God, that God sent his Son, Jesus Christ, into the world to die for us while we were yet sinners. Christ died for us. And the Word of God says that if you repent and you believe in Jesus Christ, that he died on the cross for your sin, he was buried, he rose again on the third day, you shall be saved. Jesus is calling you guys today to repent and put your faith in him, because all of us are going to stand before God. And there's no other way to God other than through Jesus Christ. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to God except through me. It's not through Allah, it's not through Muhammad, it's not through
I'm
Krishna,
Muslim,
it's not through Buddha, it's not through New Age philosophy. It's not
You
through
don't gotta knock other religions, but you could
Jesus
preach
Christ.
you could preach your religion without knocking other religions, bro.
Do you believe in 1 + 20?
I don't need to explain myself to you, but you don't gotta knock other religions. You don't gotta knock other religions to. I respect all religions, but you don't gotta knock others to talk about your own, bro. But shout out to everyone. As long as you believe in God, that's all that matters.
You gotta come to Jesus, everybody. Come to Jesus. All right, bro.
It's not even my religion, bro. I love Christians. I love everyone, bro. But you don't gotta knock other people's stuff.
Now here's what I'll say about this, right? I don't think that he knew Neon was a Muslim. I could be wrong, but I don't know. However, if he did know that Neon was a Muslim and he said that, that was the wrong thing to do if he really wanted Neon to listen. You are not going to have any Muslim listen to you if you directly attack what they believe when you're trying to say what you believe. It's just not, their heart is going to close. Can you imagine if a Hindu came to you and started saying, or even a Muslim? Because in the Quran, it tries to say that Jesus was never crucified, even though that's one of the biggest historical facts. Even though that's one of the biggest historical facts ever known. But imagine if a Muslim came to you and was saying, listen, you gotta join Islam. Jesus did not die. Jesus is not God. Your heart would be like, huh? You shut off. There's a way that you can speak to individuals where they'll listen, where their soil will be fertile, where seeds can get planted, you know. And then there's a way where they'll just turn to concrete, and you can throw seeds, but nothing to go in the dirt. So I'll take my hat off to the brother for having courage to speak about the Lord, especially in a boxing ring. You see, his hands are wrapped, so he's a boxer.
Those conversations
well, you probably
happen.
just didn't know that Neon was a Muslim, but
The gym,
either way it goes,
basketball
he's telling
courts.
the truth. And as my brother, I take my hat off to him.
So this woman here is being hit with a $63 fee by UPS, the driver, as he arrives to deliver her packages at the door.
If I don't have a check for $63, I can't get my packages? Correct. When did this start? Because I don't have checks, I only have a credit card. Can you take a credit card?
It's a scam.
So I ordered something, and if I don't have a check for $63, I can't receive it because of tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
This is wild.
I know. It is wild, and I'm sorry.
So what do you do with my packages? So I would have to go to the bank and I have to
hold them for 3 days.
And he's telling her she can't have the package unless she pays the fee. Apparently it's true. You can be directly taxed by UPS for ordering packages from overseas, and they will withhold the package from you upon delivery. The government basically eliminated the de minimis rule, which used to let packages under $800 come in overseas duty-free, meaning without any sort of tax. That's all gone now. So every international package that you purchase is subject to a duties and tax. UPS will pay the fee for you up front just to clear the package, and then bills the customer thereafter, either online or at the actual door, where you have to pay the UPS driver to get your package. So if you didn't pay it beforehand, you can expect to pay even more fees on top of the fees. Probably an extra $12 surplus charge for paying at the door. So the woman getting hit with the $63 charge at the door is exactly what's happening to people everywhere right now. This is obviously all due to the tariffs, but what do you guys think about this?
I think my spidey senses would be going, You're telling me you want a check. So what? I'm going to write you a check. What are you just going to put it in your pocket for the rest of the day? Like, where's this check going to go? Do you have a safe to put this check? Right? Maybe like it's 2026, guy. We're not writing checks no more. I don't even have a checkbook. Like you're telling me you don't got a debit card, credit card insert thing in today's age. You want me to write a check and you're just going to put it in your pocket? You know, that's where I would be like, that'd be kind of fishy to me if a UPS driver came and said, I only take checks. Nobody takes checks no more. They take checks, but nobody has checks no more.
Discovery done about
It's the
ancient
digital
mummies
age.
where they found traces of what in their bodies? It doesn't grow on that continent. It only grew in South America, the coca leaf, right? How in the hell are coca leaf found in some mummies thousands of years ago in Egypt?
So you're saying these ancient mummies were partying with...
Careful. Oh, they're partying with it. But how did that happen if these ancient trade routes didn't exist? There was no crossing the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. There's a lot of mystery with our ancients and our ancestors that it's foolhardy for us to just be dismissive and say, oh, they were primitive, they were savages. No, they weren't. Look at what the Aztecs were able to do with a calendar and predict lunar cycles and to include eclipses. I couldn't do that now.
This could be one example. If you go to McDonald's, anywhere in the world, you will find French fries, or chips, as you call them, and you will find that they're always made from the same potato, the russet Burbank potato. This is a potato from America that's unusually long and difficult to grow, but that's what they want, because when you're McDonald's, you like those red boxes with a little bouquet of very long chips. It looks really good, and so they insist that all their potatoes be russet Burbanks, and they further insist that they have no blemishes at all. There's a very common defect of russet Burbank potatoes called net necrosis. And you've seen potatoes with a little brown line sometimes, or spots that comes through it. Well, McDonald's won't buy them if your potatoes have that. And the only way to eliminate that is to eliminate an aphid. And the only way to do that is with a pesticide called Monitor. That is so toxic that the farmers who grow these potatoes in Idaho won't venture outside into their fields for 5 days after they spray. And then when they harvest their potatoes, they have to put them in these atmosphere-controlled sheds the size of a football stadium because they're not edible for 6 weeks. They have to off-gas all the chemicals in them. So you see, the desire for a certain kind of chip leads to a certain kind of agriculture.
You know, I'm not going to lie, y'all. I'm not going to be the type of person that sits up here and says, I'll never eat that. I've never eaten that. Let's be real, right? But I may have had it for the last time, you know, every time, it's not a lot, but every time I do eat McDonald's lately, it does something to me. It does something to me mentally, physically, very much mentally. And the other day, y'all, you know, it was late. It wasn't too late, but it was too late to take out, you know, something out of the freezer to thaw out. So my lady's like, let's just get McDonald's, right? I got a Big Mac, I got a fry. That next day, which was, what's today? Sunday? Friday, y'all? Friday? I haven't had a day like that in a very long time. Like an episode, you know, damn near on the brink of an episode. And I just said, like, I just can't, I can't eat it no more. I don't know, like, I could eat Whataburger, I could eat, you know, whatever, right? But there's something about that McDonald's, y'all. When I eat it, it does something horrible to my mind. And I think I had my last Big Mac for a very, very long time. I know you're not tipping. They judging you or what? Do they know they gave you bad service, so you're not going to tip?
A non-tipper fee. How do they know who a non-tipper is before you non-tip them?
Seriously.
I don't understand how a restaurant could possibly think that you may or may not tip. I mean, there's some stereotypes, I'm not gonna lie.
Like, are they judging you?
But until you actually sign that slip and put 0 in, they don't know that you're not going to tip. So just adding an arbitrary tip because they think you might not tip is going to get somebody in a whole heap of trouble.
Okay, serious question. I'm filling up my car. I've never seen this sign before. Minimum fueling volume. That truck's too loud. Minimum fueling volume, 4 gallons, dispensing less may violate federal law. so I have to buy 4 gallons of gas. I've never seen this. Has anybody else seen this
I
anywhere
just
else?
want to fill up a gallon tank.
And you know what I think? I think it all started in the milk in childhood. Why for lunch did they make us drink milk? Why didn't they give us water? Wouldn't it have been more expensive to get cartons of milk instead of bottles of water? They were putting some in the milk. They wanted all the kids to drink the milk. They were so strict about that, especially at my school. You had to drink milk or chocolate milk. You couldn't even get water unless you had a water bottle, and they'll be real strict about it. Like, they didn't like you filling up your water bottle. Why you don't want to drink no milk? Breakfast Club forced us to eat breakfast, milk, cereal. Because think about it. Why, genuinely, why are we not drinking human milk? Like milk from titties? Well, obviously because they produce cows for milk, so they couldn't be producing humans. Like, we wouldn't have enough humans. But think about it. Like, somebody was so thirsty that they walked past a cow feeding its baby and bent down and said, "Oh, let me get some of this," and drank that shit. We're not supposed to be drinking milk.
That's weird.
And the fact that as kids, they made us eat pizza with milk, barbecue riblet with milk, chicken patty with milk, nachos with milk.
Terrible food they fed us.
That they were putting something in the milk. There was no reason for that.
This is just gonna keep happening, y'all. It's monkey see, monkey do now. A guy burned down that factory. People getting paid $10 an hour, getting fired, are gonna start doing this.
Have you ever heard the theory that the gods of other religions are actually fallen angels?
No.
Okay, so there's this theory that when the demons fell with Satan,
yeah,
and they were no longer with God, that some of the demons rebelled against Satan, said, "I don't want anything to do with this," and went into their own thing, and they became like the gods, like the Greek gods and the Roman gods are not the God that we as Christians worship, but there's still an entity that's not God. Does that make sense? And so the reason that this is kind of an existing thing, actually, do you have your Bible with you?
I can pull something out, yeah.
Yeah. Can you go to Deuteronomy 32:17?
Dun, dun. So Deuteronomy 32:17, they sacrificed to demons that were no gods, to gods they had never known, to new gods that had come recently, whom your fathers had never dreaded.
So the theory there is that they were sacrificing that the sacrifice they were making was to other gods that were demons. Does that make sense? Not just made up. A lot of people are like, oh, it's not really even a god. Yeah, it's not God, but it's still an entity they're worshiping.
This is asbestos, and they had no idea how dangerous it was. Here, a worker handles the raw fibers with his bare hands. In the 1950s, this fibrous mineral was mixed with cement to make water pipes. Workers laid miles of these lines in deep trenches all across America. Asbestos wasn't just used in pipes, but also in insulation, roofing, and countless applications. It was considered a miracle material, and ads promoted clean water from these pipes.
Clean, pure water at a twist of the wrist.
Boys down there crying, y'all. We got 7 minutes left. Now they're not doing the symbolism. Now they're dressed up as a devil on stage. They don't got to do symbolism no more. They still do it, but they don't need to no more. Cat's out the bag now. They got the devil on stage doing sacrifices on stage now. Rituals on stage. We saw what that lady said about Coachella earlier.
Train stations in big cities are all, or the main train station, are from the old world. Look, you see this type of construction, and it's huge and grand. And actually, the people that built these things were bigger. They were taller. These are access ways here And look at the size of these windows. And actually, this isn't the bottom of the building, even though it appears that way. It's been paved over in such a way, and most of these buildings are like that, have been paved over in such a way that hide the fact that they go much further underground. All cities actually are built on top of something else. Cities are not the ground level in many cases. Underground, there are caves, tunnels, buildings like this, networks, and giant cities all underground that have been hidden from us and are being used by, let's say, other forces to keep themselves away from us at this time. But all of the trains and all of the train systems and all of the tracks, the trains themselves are modern, but the tracks and the stations were built by the old civilization. Trains are an ancient technology, and it's just the locomotives that we use now that are different. Because the ones they used before would have been way more advanced, and they had to hide all of that stuff. So that's what they did. They destroyed most of these buildings, they chopped down all the giant trees, and they paved over everything and built cities on top of it. And that's what we have now as the modern world. It's basically a big cover-up job.
The industry. They really are. I mean, just as a goof, y'all, bored on a Saturday, take a drive to your downtown, get out the car, park, pay your $30 for parking for the day, right? And just go walk around and look. Right. On our way home from our pediatrician that we see, we cut through downtown, right, to get back on the freeway. And just looking, you can see these buildings are built on top of whatever's down there. You see windows at floor level, right? You see like just the old building and it's just sitting on a hill, right? And you see under that hill there's dirt and you see concrete under that dirt or whatever, bricks, right? Maybe not concrete, but bricks. Like just as a goof, just take a walk down your downtown. There's a reason why downtowns are in every city, every state. There's a downtown, and it's the hub of your whole state, right? This is where your main bank is, where your main police station, where your federal courts, your federal buildings. There's a reason why those are in those downtowns, right? There's a high energy there, and they build on top of it because that's the hub of the state. Just go walk around, y'all. Pay that $30 fee, right? Take a loss and check out your downtown. Guarantee you're going to see some underground stuff or some crazy symbolism.
The decoy effect. That middle option, the one that makes no sense, exists purely to make the large option look like a steal. It's not there to be bought. It's there to change the math in your head. When you see a medium soda that is only 10 cents cheaper than a large, that medium isn't a drink. It's a decoy. It's a mental nudge whispering, look how much more you get for a dime. You'd be silly not to.
This was a pretty rough couple of weeks for Walmart shoppers. The first thing we learned is Walmart in their brick and mortar stores is going with electronic shelf labels. Now, they have sworn up and down that they are not going to use these electronic shelf labels for dynamic pricing to change the price of ice cream on a hot summer day.
You know, we did a little deeper dive on this and went and asked, Google, and they said they're not going to use it for that. So I asked, they may not be using it for that, but do they have the option to raise prices? And it does. They have the option. They have the option.
But look, they partnered with a French company who builds electronic shelf labels for the sole purpose of doing data-driven dynamic pricing in grocery stores. So I think we all know where this is likely headed. On top of that, we just learned that Walmart was granted 2 new patents to protect technologies that they have been hard at work building to do better AI-driven pricing, including by looking at everything you do when you log on to walmart.com, what you browse, what you click on, what you hover over but never click on, what you put on your cart but don't end up buying. They are getting
Wait, they can actually see that?
here.
They can see what I hover over?
Absolutely. Mouse tracking is big business. This has always been a part of how companies think about their advertising models, right? You've always wondered sort of when you looked at something online and then the next day you got an advertisement for it, how did they know? Well, it doesn't matter if you clicked on
Old
it.
news. Everything does
You
that.
hovered your mouse over
Facebook,
it, right?
TikTok,
So Walmart
Instagram,
is going
Walmart,
very high tech on
Amazon.
pricing. They're protecting this technology by getting patents. It says to me that Walmart is no longer just in the business of selling groceries and selling toilet paper. They are also in the data business.
Have you noticed how we've not built any new cemeteries? Like any city, town you go to, they still have the same cemeteries they've had for hundreds of years. And people pass away all the time, yet these cemeteries never seem to fill up. There are always open plots of land where you can bury someone. So where are the bodies? Where are they going? What's happening to them? I've got this interesting theory that I've heard. Now, in the 1970s, there was this movie called Soylent Green. Now, Soylent Green was this movie starring Charlton Heston, and it was about this futuristic city in which the world had become overpopulated. They had destroyed the oceans, they had destroyed the earth, and times were really rough. And none of the people in the city could afford to buy any groceries. They couldn't afford just the normal things we get every day at the store. So, in order to keep them from starving, they were sold this very cheap stuff that was made in the factory. It was like a squared cracker or ration, and it was called Soylent Green, or yellow or red. And the people, because they were hungry, because they were starving, they would protest like every day. They would go out into the streets and have these huge protests. But these trucks would come around, and they would pick them up and take them away. And all these people were like disappearing. So Charlton Heston's character, who is this detective, he starts investigating this mysterious case, which leads him to the factory where they make this Soylent Green. And what he discovers is that the Soylent Green is made from humans. And when you kind of look around now, right, the same things are happening that happened in that movie, right? We are slowly destroying the oceans, the earth. Groceries have become unaffordable. They are now a luxury to most. And you wonder, the foods that we're getting that are so cheap that we're able to afford to buy, the only stuff that we can eat, what is it made of? Now, I'm curious what you think. Why do you think we are not building any new cemeteries?
I wonder if there's been anyone that's put like some type of live stream camera or something on the casket that maybe the battery will last 2 weeks, right? Probably legal as hell, but I'm surprised nobody's done it just to see when everyone's gone, do they bury everything or what? Because we see the theories, we see all that, reusing of the caskets and all that. But anyways, y'all, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. You made it this far, y'all know what to do. If you didn't already do it, hit that like, comment, subscribe, y'all. What a week it's been. What a week, y'all. I'm ready to start a fresh week. It was an off week last week. Time to start a new week. I hope everyone out there has a good end to their week. Hope you enjoyed today's video. And we start off next week on the right foot, y'all. This is Segovia, signing out of the man cave. I'm going to see you guys on Monday for the next one. Later.